Today we're going to talk about design resources. Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and I'm a designer and a front-end developer. I would say though 90% of what I do on a daily basis is design related, and I wanted to share with you today some of my favorite free design resources that I use. I hope that if you are watching this video that you'll find a few things that will help you in your design workflow and in your process. And I've split these up into a couple different categories of tools and inspiration, photography and assets, all geared towards the web, graphic, and product designer. Okay, so let's talk inspiration. Obviously, some of my favorite places to go would be Dribbble or Behance, but besides those, where do you go to look for good design inspiration? Well, I really like a free extension that you can find called Muesli. It's, I think, right now being run by the people at Envision, and it's just a daily dose of inspiration, like all sorts of inspiration, whether that be video or motion graphics or design or print or web or interface stuff, and it's all right there every time you open up a new tab in your browser. The inspiration grid is another really great inspiration resource. Obviously it's in the name, but I think it's because they have so much. The breadth of different types of work are really just like, it's just so vast. I think the really great thing is you can be looking at stuff for typography or advertising or marketing or web design. One of my favorite things to do when looking for inspiration is to look in other mediums for inspiration. So if I'm doing a new website, I like to look at some architecture or some print stuff, and so that's a really great resource and a way to mix up your inspiration. The next one is called Patterns. It's PTTRNS.com, and it's really just a repository of mobile, mainly user interface patterns that are found throughout iOS and Android apps. The next section I'm going to talk about is assets, anything that you would use in a project, and I can't talk about web design assets without talking about the Noun project. The Noun project is just this huge repository of different iconography, and I don't like to use the iconography straight out of Noun project per se, but I do like to use them as in kind of an inspiration almost, and then start creating my own iconography, my own icon sets. I think what's really great is you can find a lot of really great styles and a lot of variation there, and then you can interpret that into your own kind of language and your own style once you get it into your project. The next one is called Premium Pixels, and it's just a pretty great, there's a lot of free resource sites out there, but this one's pretty great. It's simple and it has a lot of useful things, whether that be like iPhone or Android phone or tablet, like device kind of mock-ups or shirt mock-ups. Just a lot of really good stuff there that you can utilize. I think for a lot of forward-facing client work so you can present well, and a lot of those little things like folder icons and such that you don't really want to make and you don't really need to make. It's been done a million times, so sometimes, you know, reinventing the wheel is a bad thing. I happen to use Sketch for Mac for a large majority of my design work, and Sketch App Rocks is a really great resource repository specifically for the sketch file format. They'll have a lot of mock-ups, and not only mock-ups, but a repository of plugins and kind of useful tips and tricks, so I find that to be a really great free asset. Google Fonts has come like a really long way. They have some really good stuff up there, and their interface has really improved a lot as far as discovering, searching, and drilling down on different types of typography with different styles. My Font is a really good place to do a little bit of typography discovery, and so you can just kind of search for things that are new and things that are interesting, and even kind of like check them out a little bit more in depth and test some of them. So I really like My Font specifically for the discovering and testing of fonts. And the last typography resource that I'm going to talk about is actually a tool, and it's called Grid Lover. Grid Lover is an awesome typography tool that really helps you to establish like a typographic rhythm and a vertical rhythm in your web and your product design. So you can kind of start picking different scales, and you can play with the different sizes and constraints. And then what I really love about it is if you're going to be doing a front-end project, it can actually spit out the immediate kind of framework for typography rule sets in CSS. So you can just pop that in your project and start going. You can start with like a good clear fix or something that clears all the browser kind of standards or defaults out, and you can drop your grid level defaults in, and you immediately have a typographic kind of rhythm established in your project. Okay, now let's talk about stock photography. Stock photography is great. Everybody uses it. I wish that I was able to use more custom photography. Like, for instance, I do some photography, but my wife does lots of photography. And so here's some of the best stock photography resources that I know about and enjoy and use fairly often. Number one is Unsplash. They're one of the biggest. They have so many photos up there, and I love how you can actually find things in different collections. So if you're looking for things about the ocean or the beach, you can probably find a collection that has anywhere from 20 to 100 photos in there, and that can kind of help speed your process. Finding photo selects for projects and for comps is pretty taxing and can be time consuming sometimes, so this kind of helps. Number two is called Pexels. Pexels is really great. They have a lot of the same stuff, obviously, that Unsplash is going to have. They do have a different selection, and I really appreciate the different download sizes. So if you're doing something really small, you don't need the massive full-size, full-res image. You're able to just kind of scale down immediately before you download it to your machine. I think that's pretty great. They also have a video section, so they have some stock videography that's pretty good, so I recommend them for your next project. All right, the last category we're going to talk about today is tools. Tools are really, really important, and they're things that can kind of help speed up your workflow and make it more enjoyable. And here's a couple of the ones that I really, really love. The first one is called Coolers. It's just a really fun color palette kind of inspiration / creation tool. By hitting one key on your keyboard, you can start cycling through all sorts of different styles of palettes. You can also lock colors in place and start building a palette around those colors. It's pretty interesting. I've rarely used a palette straight out of Coolers, although it is pretty cool to start there and then work off of it. It kind of helps save time than randomly picking colors out of the ether. Next tool is Envision. Envision is a free prototyping tool that you can find at envisionapp.com, and you're able to upload your screens and then create kind of simple click-through, not really highly animated, but simple click-through kind of prototypes. I love that you can share with people right there and they can leave comments, really similar to like Dropbox or Dropbox Paper. So this is really great for internal kind of feedback or feedback with a client, so they can get some kind of idea on how it works. I'm going to talk about a couple tools that aren't free but do have free trials, and I highly recommend trying those free trials out to see if you want to convert into a paid user of those. The next tool is called WriteFont, and it is for organizing and utilizing typography. Organizing typography can sometimes be a bit of a bear, but this makes it really, really fun. It's almost kind of like a small sidebar application that runs, and you can filter through all the typography. You can activate and deactivate things so it doesn't take up space on your machine, and you can drag things directly into your project and transform different text layers simply by clicking on the selection inside of the app. So it's pretty awesome, pretty fun. One of the best ways to organize your typography, in my opinion. Next is Sketch for Mac. I use Sketch all the time now, and I've almost completely transitioned over from other design software to Sketch, mainly because I do web and product design on a daily basis. So Sketch is so great. The amount of plugins that can go into it to really help your workflow is awesome. There's so much variation there, and it's built for people who work on the screen. So I just love everything about Sketch. I can't say enough. If you want to find out more about it, you can check out their website, or I have a couple of videos up here of me creating things using Sketch. But I just love it. I can't say enough about it. Check it out. So these are some of my favorite free design resources I use constantly. I'd be really interested to hear what type of resources you really love and use, what could make my workflow better. So if you have any recommendations, please leave them down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see more videos like this that come out. I hope that you guys are designing amazing things and making amazing things and enjoying all the resources that you use. Talk to you guys next time. See ya.